Let's crack open a beer and share some thoughts.
You haven't experienced it before, I think you'd find this very nice.
It's still an incredible beer, and it goes without saying that the artwork,
the label,
translates beautifully onto
it does with the colours
to the bottle as well. So this is we're drinking the Hare and the Hag from White Hag Brewery and Kinnegar Brewery, which is an Irish coffee nitro stout, which you would have heard us bang on about a little bit over a couple of episodes now. This is the beer that we had at Alltech.
I think it was our beer of the festival, wasn't it?
It was our beer of the festival.
Beer of the festival, branding of the festival.
Yeah, I mean, I gave it a 4.75 on Untappd. The thing that stopped the 0.25 was because I said I didn't think it had smashability. Because it's a very nice beer, and it's a very luxurious beer as well. And some of that does translate back into the bottle as well. But it's now available in the UK in bottles as well. So if people do want to get their hands on this, currently in stock at Honest Brew. And we do have a discount code if people want to get their hands on that or any other Irish beer from Honest Brew. So if you use the code SAVE10IRISH, you can get yourself some Irish beers with a little bit of discount as well.
That's always good.
It's always good.
Every little helps, apparently.
Absolutely, especially when it's a beer this good.
Yeah.
And we recently purchased a case of 12 of those, so there might not be as many of those left as you'd expect.
As there was before.
Yeah. So here we are again, another studio
show
this week. What have you been up to, mate? This last week, anything beer wise?
Been fairly quiet. I mean, I was out. I did the usual. I was out for St Patrick's Day with the family. That didn't bring any real surprises beer wise because it was Guinness plus Guinness and more Guinness. But when I came home, I did revisit the Born to Die because I decided to save it as it was Born to Die on St Patrick's Day. So I thought I'd have it in the evening. And I know that not everyone liked it the first time around anyway. I did. But again, like a lot of the other iterations of the Born to Die, it definitely had a softer feel to it. The rough edges weren't there.
Yeah.
And I actually thought it was quite a drinkable beer on Friday night.
I think I'm going to have to... Because I'm one of these that gets Born to Die and I drink it the day I've got it because it's intended to be drunk uber fresh.
Well, I tend to do that as well, but I always tend to save one till the back end of its lifespan.
Yeah, I normally only buy one and then I've done it, tick. But I think my learning experience from this time round is to buy two.
Yeah.
And to leave one until its death date.
Yeah.
And then to try it then.
I think it was a more rounded beer. It felt more like the prototype version we had in Manchester.
Okay, but we had different views on it anyway because I really didn't enjoy it.
No,
I thought
it
was really unbalanced. It had this really off-putting alcohol burn to it, and it just didn't feel like it was right.
See, I didn't mind the alcohol burn bit.
Okay,
it reminded me that it was a beer still and a high ABV beer.
Well, there's another one coming soon.
Yeah.
There's another one coming that I think the next one is planned to be released to coincide with Hop City. Which is up in Leeds.
Okay, does that mean there's going to be free releases this year then?
I'm not sure.
Too, isn't it?
I'm not sure whether they're doing it as a festival release only. I did ask the guys that are behind Hop City when they released the information that said Born to Die, Brewdog bringing Born to Die. I said, is that their next iteration of it, or is that a festival special? And they said, we don't know. They've just said that's what they're bringing. So I hope it's not this version. Or maybe they're going to do another prototype, or maybe they're going to do a special. Maybe that's what they're going to do for festivals this year. They're going to do Born to Die specials.
Speaking of Hop City, going a little bit off on a tangent.
Yeah.
Did I see on Instagram a few pictures of the Hop City can?
Mm-hmm.
And the beer which came out of it as well.
Yeah. Northern Monk have done a collab with YCH Hops, who are one of the title sponsors of Hop City, to produce a festival beer called Hop City IPA.
Did I see it was murky?
Probably. I imagine so. I've not seen. I can't comment. Keep talking. Phil,
have a look.
While I try and find the picture.
But the something else that caught my eye but I tried, and I was a bit nonplussed by it really. Was the London Pride Unfiltered. Now, admittedly, this was in the can.
I was going to say, was this the can that I gave you?
And It wasn't a can I'd need to revisit.
Okay.
It was okay.
Yeah.
But again, it was nowhere near the quality of a London Pride on cask. So, yeah, I'd be interested to see what it's like on as keg Pride unfiltered, if I can find a Fuller's which has got it, because the Parcel Yard didn't have it either.
It's interesting, they seem to have done the press launch for it 3-4 weeks ago and forgotten to put it into their bars.
Yeah, it's a bit strange.
Yeah.
I know,
Normally you'd have it going into the bars.
And I thought a Parcel Yard, when you've got quite a lot of touristy traffic going through, would have been quite a good contender for it as well. Especially as they have quite a few keg pumps. So that was okay. I tried the Faultless by Red Willow, their stout.
Oh, okay, I can't say that's one that I've come across.
Really good.
Yeah?
Yeah. I think it might be one of the ones I picked up at, when we did the collab with Roland.
Oh, right, okay, so just a really good, solid stout.
Really good. Yeah. Really good, solid stout. And the last beery adventure is not a beer drinking related, but when I went to a pub new to me recently, locally, the toilets, the actual toilets, the urinals are made of old casks. They've sort of carved them out, and they work really well. It's made the toilet a bit of a feature, to be honest.
It's quite a nice little twist.
Yeah, I mean, I'll post a picture so people can see what I'm on about.
I was going to say, I don't really want to spend ages talking about...
No, but it does look good.
Yeah.
It does look good. Bearing in mind some toilets do not, sometimes.
Yeah. Good filling there, mate.
Yeah, that's all right.
I found the picture. Yep. It does look considerably hazy. Maybe to the point of murky. Although I think that's probably going to be what most of the beers are like.
I reckon that's only when they found out you were definitely going along.
Yeah. Well, we'll see. There have been, of course, lots of announcements about Hop City this week, which we'll come to when we get to the news. But I'll just cover off a couple of my standout beers from the last week, and I haven't really done anything this last week, so I've done a lot of home drinking. I did have a new box of beer arrived from Beer Central for me this week that I'd ordered, and in there was 2 bottles of Axe Edge, and there seems to be a problem with Axe Edge coming into my house because it just doesn't last very long.
How long did it last, Steve?
It went into the fridge for as long as it took to get cold.
And both were drunk.
And both came out and were poured.
And
still tastes amazing. Still tastes exactly like I remember it tasting. Still looks great as well, and it's still a fantastic example of a UK IPA for me.
Modern UK IPA.
Yeah, I literally am on a countdown to the taproom visit now.
We've noticed.
Yes,
we've noticed. How many sleeps, Steve?
As we record, 19 possibly. As people listen, less than that, but you're not going to be able to avoid it.
No, you're going to see the updates
on Twitter that weekend. Yeah,
the loving with Miles.
Yes, absolutely. And then just the other one to mention was I went to the Ale House in Chelmsford at the weekend to watch a rugby, and they had a beer on called Pastiche by Wishbone, which was like a session pale ale, about 3.8, 3.9%, something like that, and that was incredibly refreshing.
One of their cask offerings?
Yeah, cask beer. Really, really easy to drink. Clayton and I sat there and drank it until there was no more left in the cask, which was a shame.
Okay, well, it's not a bad one to do that too.
No, absolutely
if you're going to go for a smashable beer under 4% on a Saturday afternoon with the rugby, sounds quite good.
Yeah,
and a bit of a shame about the rugby.
It was a bit of a shame. It was probably the most interesting thing was the whole the Welsh game, which had an extra 25 minutes.
That went on forever.
Clayton, as a massive rugby fan who's been involved in the sport all of his life, was literally standing there saying, "I've never known this. I've never known a game of rugby to go on so long. It just didn't want to finish." So yeah, that was
definitely a dramatic ending.
It was indeed, yeah.
Well, but so we must have some news, Steve.
Yes, we do. So we're going to start off with what I mentioned there, which was some of the beers that have been announced for Hop City. Now, I'm not going to go through all of these because there are loads of beers that have been announced. If you want full updates, on all the beers that are going to be available, I would suggest following Hop City Leeds on Twitter. And you can see in their feed all of the beers that will be pouring over that weekend. There are still a few tickets left if you're quick, but some of the standout beers are going to be, so the Alchemists are bringing both Focal Banger and Heady Topper. Brew by Numbers have got a Hop City IPA 0522. So it's the next iteration of Brew by Numbers IPA series that will be pouring at Hop City. Brewdog, as we mentioned, have got their Born to Die IPA. Verdun have got Even Sharks Need Water IPA and maybe one more PSI double IPA pouring. There are rumours that I say they're rumours, but I think everybody knows apparently Unhuman Cannibal is going to be on all weekend as well, because it ties in with the release of this year's Unhuman Cannibal, which was announced this week as well. Did you miss that?
I missed that.
7th of April, the tap room, and then online the following week. So 500ml cans for both Unhuman and Human Cannibal, which I'm a little bit sad about.
You're sad about the bottle, aren't you?
I'm sad to see the end of the Unhuman Cannibal bottle series.
Have we seen pictures of the cans yet?
They've not released pictures of the cans yet, but no matter how great they look, they're never going to look as good as an embossed bottle sat on my kitchen windowsill.
True.
The can's just going to look like I've missed the bin, isn't it? Let's be honest. So there's some double news there. To start off with. Next up, the other news that came out this week, which I now can't find.
You don't see this on News at 10.
You don't see this on News at 10, and I can't find it. It's about Brewdog. And the news that's it. They're changing their articles of association and what have you to make way for a 30% investor. So they're looking to potentially sell a third of the company. Now, this is all being lined up to coincide with the AGM in a couple of weeks, which possibly suggests that they've already found the investor and they're just going to announce it.
I was going to say, they must do.
You can't make that sort of announcement.
You can't make a pre-announcement and then at the AGM going, oh, we didn't find anyone.
Yeah. But for me, it raises a couple of interesting things. So the first one is that Brewdog have always been so against big investors buying out breweries. Which raises the question of, is the investor somebody from within the brewing industry, or have they gone outside to wider business and they've just got somebody investing?
It'd be interesting to see how it falls when the announcement's made at the AGM, because Brewdog have made so much noise about this sort of subject matter in the past. So I think maybe that's why they've started off with a sort of pre-announcement. Maybe this is their groundwork. I'd be surprised if it's another big brewer, because that 30% thing would cut them out of being called craft in the States, wouldn't it?
But also their integrity would be shot to shit.
Yeah, they'd have to take all their beers down.
Yeah.
In their own Brewdog bar.
Yeah, I'd like to see them up on the bar taking all their own beers down.
Yeah.
Like they famously did when Camden went.
So I suspect it's an outside investor of some kind. But even then, that's still
it's a sizable chunk of their business.
It's a sizable chunk of their business, and although they obviously would still be the controlling interest, that's still a lot of money. Where they're moving away from being, if you can even still call them, from being punk to being corporate.
Yeah. Alongside this, they've also suggested there's going to be another round of equity for punks crowdfunding this year, and there's been quite some commentary around whether the changes that they've made actually impact on those people that have bought shares, in terms of, is it fair, and people that have bought shares actually, for all intents and purposes, now own even less of the business. Which for me as a shareholder, I have to say, wasn't my first concern when I bought shares in Brewdog. I wasn't ever buying it as an investment. I bought into the company for discounts in the bars, discounts online, and access to their beers a day before everybody else.
Yeah. Yeah, it was again. It's membership to a club, wasn't it?
It is, yeah.
Their specials, the abstract series, everything that comes with being part of that particular club was what you necessarily buying into.
Yeah.
I mean, I guess yes, you could have the thing that the shares could have a feeling of being watered down, but if the company, if there's a growth in their share value because of this new investor, then I suppose even though they've watered down the value of the shares, technically they'll probably go up in value because of the increase across the board.
Yeah.
But how many people are looking to sell?
Well, apparently selling's incredibly difficult. They open up this selling platform once a year, which I've not experienced yet, and that the process is, by all accounts, very complicated and very difficult to actually sell your shares.
Okay, well that's not overly helpful. But I've never seen it advertised, the selling platform. But again, I'm not a direct.
I think it only gets advertised to, because you can only share to other equity members. People from outside can't buy in.
So people from outside can only buy in when they do the equity for
when
Punk.
they open up the rounds of equity. Yeah.
So I can just turn around and say, well, I'll have your shares then, Steve.
Yeah.
Right. Okay.
So it's a
bit of a closed shop
punk
then.
to punk
platform.
Yeah. For
Okay.
all intents and purposes.
Fair enough.
But if you want to read a little bit more about whether it means that it's fair and equitable, there is a decent blog that you can read, and this will be linked in the show notes from Beer Insider. So check out beerinsider.com, lack of equity at Brewdog. That's a good read. But as I say, that'll be linked through in the show notes.
Okay.
Manchester Beer Week is back this year. We've already covered this previously on the show, but some more news this week about the event. So starting on Friday the 23rd of June, running through to Saturday the 2nd of July. It's being sponsored this year by the Co-op as the headline sponsor. So they will also play a role in the creation of a festival's official beer, which will then be made available in selected stores. So it's going to be even bigger and better this year. Opening weekend will shine a light on independent producers, brewery expo, and all sorts, really. There's just going to be loads going on in Manchester.
Okay, well that's not a bad sponsor to have. The Co-op.
It's not,
because they do champion local beers in their shops as well.
That they do, and interestingly, this weekend I saw that somebody posted a picture of a new IPA that JW Lees have produced that's available only in the Co-op.
All right, okay.
So I wonder if that's a forerunner to this announcement
being
made. But for all the details on Manchester Beer Week, head on over to mcrbeerweek.co.uk or follow MCR Beer Week on Twitter.
On Manchester, I'm going to leap in there.
Okay.
I posted a blog at the weekend about our recent festival excursions minus the All-Tech one, which is going to have a post all of its own.
Had you posted that before?
No.
Oh, right, okay.
No, I posted on Saturday. And Manchester Beer Festival came back to me yesterday saying that there were water stations. And I can't say that thinking back, I still can't remember seeing any. But they said if you just ask at the bar, they would direct you.
Oh, okay.
So they also sent me someone else's post as independent verification, which I still need to read. But I'm going to say Manchester Beer Festival at their word, to be fair.
Yeah.
So I said sorry on Twitter, but I'll say apologies now. I really didn't notice it at all. But all you've done is reconfirm my belief that you guys are well ahead of a lot of the other regional beer festivals, both with your keg and cask living together in perfect harmony, as well as having water. So well done, Manchester.
Well, again, nice of them to actually. They've obviously taken the time to read the post, and they've responded as well. Which I appreciated. Yeah, fantastic.
And so it just makes me think, that one's sort of, if I can make it, I'll go next year.
Yeah, absolutely. I'm in for that again. So we've got some beer news as well. So Siren have released a new beer as part of their core range. So this is called Yulu, and it's a loose leaf pale ale. So I'm guessing that's a tea thing. So
that's not really interesting, you then, is it?
No, you did you hear it drop out of my voice then as well? So yeah, it's been developed over the time using Earl Grey tea leaves. There we go, and Vermont ale yeast to produce a new beer. So
Not sure why you even bothered reading that without enthusiasm, Steve.
Sorry. Should I try that again?
No, please don't.
Okay, so Siren have got a new beer anyway, and that's part of a whole range of things that they've got coming out as well. So again, check out Siren's website for more details there. And then some breaking news that came out this evening. This is, and I'm not going to take credit for it because this is from Pete McCary, who's a listener of the show, that had an exchange with Cloudwater today, and apparently they've said that the end is in sight for the Dipper V series, but there's more news coming on this Friday. Oh. So that will be Friday the 24th of March, which is interesting because
I thought people had sort of bought into that for the year.
I thought.
Or I misheard that.
No, I think they originally said that their intention was to do a range of dippers all throughout the year.
Yeah, once a month.
So, which for me raises the question of: Do you think people have got fed up chasing the latest release once a month?
I've probably seen less noise about it, but maybe they're just replacing it with cask, new beer, new dispense method for them.
Cask dipper. I don't know what to say to that. I really don't. It'll be quite interesting to see what, because normally I've got to say that Cloudwater write one of the best blogs in the industry when they do put pen to paper or words to screen.
Very informative.
Yeah. So I imagine that whatever we're going to get on Friday will contain a level of detail that should satisfy everybody as well. So just keep your eye out for that, and I'm sure we'll chat about it again next week, probably, if it's that big an announcement.
Yeah, it'd be interesting to hear what they say, and thanks to Pete for the exclusive.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, that wasn't just for us. It was
it was for us.
It was just a tweet.
It was for us.
That I
was
picked up on. But thanks, Pete, for exploring that. So we've got a new beer in
we
the
have
glass.
One of the beers I brought back from my trip to Bruges at the turn of the year. This is the Prearis or Prearis. One of those pronunciations that everyone will really enjoy us saying. The Quadrupel, a Belgian dark ale, comes in at 10%.
Lovely, nice easy beer.
Nice easy beer for Monday night, don't you reckon?
To get us going. Cheers, mate.
Cheers. Sweet, isn't it?
God, it's an initial real big, kind of almost like, I don't know, dark fruits like cherry, raspberry, that sort of thing.
Hard boiled, sweet.
Yeah,
cherry.
Yeah.
It's still got that sort of quality of it.
It's a little bit syrupy in the background. It's interesting though because you get none of that on the nose.
No.
Just on the nose, I'm just getting like kind of a coppery metallic. God, that's really sweet.
Yeah.
Ooh, I like that.
It's nice though.
Doesn't taste 10%.
Doesn't taste 10%, does it?
No, that's going to be dangerous.
Yeah. Maybe a very, very sly little burn at the very end.
Getting none of that.
None of that?
None of that. No.
Oh dear.
I like that. Okay, so time for a bit of this then.
What's that then?
Opinions, 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 opinions.
So this week we asked, has an Untappd rating or score ever impacted on your decision to buy a beer? Now, we also credited this to somebody that then said, I never asked that question.
I thought it was hilarious. We don't even know why we asked the question.
And then I've spent the best part of the last 24 hours trying to find the tweet on my timeline, which I can't do. And Mark at Million Bevs is still saying it's not him. So if you did ask this question, can you please let us know? Because I'd like to actually credit you for this question as well.
We're more than happy to let other people take credit for our opinions subject to the week.
Absolutely, but let's just make sure we get it we get it right. Yeah. So 296 votes this week. Very simple question. So it was either yes, no, or what the fuck. 56% of people said no. 31% said yes, which probably pleased Mark Johnson, who was threatening early on that if there were any more yes votes, he wasn't going to listen to this episode.
Yeah. And then, just to be clear, I'm what the fuck.
Yeah. So Mark, if you are listening at this point, please just let us know that you're still listening at this point, because we did promise to try and do this one justice just for you. So, as always, let's start off with our views on this one before we dig into some of the comments. Have you ever used Untappd as a method of deciding whether to buy a beer?
Less so these days. I have done it in the past,
Okay.
so I was definitely yes, because I have used it. And I've used it when I've been presented maybe with a choice, or when I'm abroad and I see what appears to be a couple of specials, and I think, okay, well, let's have a quick look. In fact, I may have used it in Bruges on a couple of beers, when I was at a couple of the beer shops in Bruges, and I was like toying with it. There's only so much I could carry back.
Yeah.
And I did toy with the idea of a couple of specials, and I did have a quick look to see what my friends' ratings were.
Okay.
I don't look at the general.
Yeah.
I tend to look at the people who, although we obviously have different tastes, even with the different tastes, I can sort of trust where their opinion's coming from. It's still an honest assessment of what they thought the beer when they had it. It's no, blowing smoke up anyone's arse, that kind of thing. So yeah, I have used it in the past, and I have found it useful, and I don't think I've ever regretted picking up a beer off an Untappd score. But
Okay.
like I said, I don't use just the general. I don't use the global. It'll generally be friends.
Yeah, it's interesting because quite a few people commented on that it would be that they'd either go to friends or people that they trusted on Untappd, that maybe necessarily weren't their friends, but were people that I suppose like ourselves, that review beer for a hobby. You would think that when we say something about beer, that certain people would.
Yeah, possibly.
Yeah.
But I think, all right, so maybe it's people you know or know of.
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, like I said, I found it useful in the past. I think Bruges was probably the last time I did it, though.
Yeah.
I think I just sort of make a decision, right, but I'm going to buy a beer anyway. And that's sort of it done.
Well, also, somebody, Jamie Day at Not Just a Beer JD, said definitely if he's in a bottle shop and he's eyeing up 10 plus beers, then he'll check Untappd and he'll probably buy the 5 highest rated from that 10. But obviously we've all got different tastes, and sometimes the method doesn't work, but it's one of the main reasons why he uses Untappd.
Okay, that's unusual. Most of us use Untappd. Badges. No,
As a record.
As a record of what we've had, isn't it?
Yeah.
I mean, it's like our own personal record which we choose to share.
Well, yeah, Chris Griffiths at Griffith23, I use Untappd for my own personal record and ratings and assume everybody else does the same. I mean, I have to say, I very rarely look at other people's feeds on Untappd.
I do now and again. If I've got a bit of a quiet moment or it's the last 5 minutes on the train, I might have a little bit of a flick through. I mean, I've got quite a few Untappd, when I say friends, but people on Untappd, like, who are in the States. And so you have quite a lot of stuff if you go through it in the morning, because they've obviously all been drinking while you've been asleep. So, and you see some interesting beers. And one of the things about that is sometimes when you see a beer that you've had before from this side of the Atlantic, you think, oh, okay, well, that's travelled quite far. I find it quite interesting, that bit. But I would still only trust the ratings of people I know or know of.
Okay.
I would say. That'd be where I fit in on that. No, I voted yes on that.
Okay, well, as I always say, I can't vote because it's my poll, unless I use one of my many other pseudonyms on Twitter to vote. But I didn't feel as I wanted to this week. It didn't really engage me. I don't know what that says about if the poll doesn't even engage me, then why should I expect it to engage other people? But I think that's probably because I'm a no. Because I've got to say I've never knowingly not bought a beer because I've checked Untappd before I've had that beer, because I'm always about I suppose my own journey of discovery. So I would much rather be like, well, I want to try that beer, so actually I don't really care what it tastes like.
Like I said, I think like me, me and Jamie said, it's when I've got presented with too much choice and I need to narrow it down.
Yeah, I don't think I suppose that might be a difference again, because I do a lot of my.
Do a lot of your shopping online anyway. So
it's online, yeah.
Your choice is down to 12, whereas if I've got a beer bag, generally holds 4 to 6, doesn't it? And then when you're in Bruges, there's that big temptation, or anywhere in Belgium, to get 750 bottles as well.
Yeah.
So it narrows the space down again, and so I definitely use it now and again when I'm presented with a lot of choice.
Yeah, like I said, I don't think I ever have. Like normally, I would just select beers based on what they look like or what style they are or what brewery they're from. So I mean, case in point being beer that we was talking about a couple of weeks ago was this the Candy-Tastic Beer, which was brewed with.
Oh, the Haribos.
Haribos, which I was really, really excited about.
Yeah,
I love Haribos.
Yeah.
So I got 2 cans of Beer Central and I opened the first can and I drank 3 mouthfuls and I poured it down the sink because it just didn't work. It was just awful. So the second can then followed it down the sink as well. I suppose I could have given it to you to try.
Oh yeah, I could have tried it. You obviously really felt unhappy about it.
I think I was having quite a grumpy weekend. It's probably fair to say, and some people may have noticed that. So I'm. But had I maybe checked on Untappd, I don't know whether that many people had tried it at that point.
No, it's a relatively new beer, isn't it? I mean,
I suppose the thing for me would only be if I was about to spend, if I was considering spending a lot of money,
a big outlay
on a beer, I would want to make sure that it was matching of my tastes.
Yeah.
So in that instance, I would probably start looking for friends and trusted sources on
what they say
on Untappd.
Yeah.
And as I say, we had quite a few people that mentioned that. So Michael Edwards at Smed Edwards says would only check the average rating from friends rather than the universal score, and that was also backed up by Brad White and Oliver Conningham as well, who both said very similar things about their friends or trusted sources being the sort of places that they'd check before they bought a beer.
And I think we had a few mentions for rate beer, didn't we?
We did, which is interesting because neither of us do rate beer.
No.
But we know people that do rate beer.
Yeah.
And I think it's interesting because a lot of people said that they think that rate beer has a bigger influence over their buying decision because of the level of detail when you're tapping and when you're checking in a beer on rate beer, you're not limited to the Twitter 140 characters, are you? You're not. Plus, you're rating on
lots of things, aren't you?
You're rating on lots of things, which ends up giving it these scores out of 100.
Yeah.
So you know, and people then clamour for those beers that are 100 out of 100
on rate beer.
On rate beer as
well. Yeah, because one of our good friends at the Essex Bottle Share is an ex-rate beer, and he brings that to the written format still at the bottle share, doesn't he?
Yeah.
He writes far more copious notes than most of us put together.
It wasn't, and it was interesting because last month he walked in, he looked at the amount of beers on the table, and he was like, "I'm not taking notes tonight." He was like, "I'll never get through it all."
It was either all or nothing.
Yeah. So he was a definite.
That was a good idea, as we did do 18.
Yeah. Yes. That was a big night.
That's the monster one.
That's for sure. So the only other thing, I suppose, what people were saying this week was it being about whether they trust the brewery or not, and using Untappd as a way of seeing if the brewery's any good. Now, I've got to admit, I didn't know you could do this. I didn't know breweries had average scores.
Do they?
On Untappd? Well, apparently so. So Roland, who was on with us a few weeks back at Has Been New Boy, said he'll only check Untappd when it's a brewery he doesn't know and the score is less than 3.3 average. But fundamentally, he says he will check Untappd. And that comment about the breweries was again also backed up by Ian Sargent at Sargentinian, who said that they'll check the brewery score rather than the score of the beer. So I can see that you're currently digging into Untappd there. Is this going to take a while on your phone?
It could take a while on my phone, but it's an interesting idea, looking at the brewery, because I would never have thought about even doing that. There is an average rating, so I've just gone to Pirate Life, who we featured last week, and I finished off the rest of my beers from them in my fridge at the weekend, and again, loved them all again. Pirate Life have an average rating of 3.92 for the brewery. I've learned something.
There you go.
The poll was worth doing. There's another stat I can look at on Untappd.
You can check out the brewery stats.
Brilliant.
As well, and find out that most of those average out at just below 4%, like every other beer on Untappd.
Don't spoil it.
Sorry.
Hold on a second. You can also there's a little love heart you can put beside the brewery.
To favourite the brewery.
To like the brewery.
Look at that.
Ooh, I like that.
Untappd, the app that just keeps giving.
Yeah, thanks, Roland.
Yeah.
and then whoever else mentioned the brewery bit.
Yeah.
Oh, see, but that was worth doing.
It was.
It was worth doing. That was good.
So, any more comments about this? It feels like a relatively short one.
It does feel. But I think it was also. There wasn't an in between anyway. People were either yes or no.
Yeah, and let's be honest. It's kind of been the culmination of this season's story arc.
Yeah, which has been about choices, hasn't it?
Choices,
and how you make your choices,
and you know all of that sort of thing. So I think if you take this as a whole, that it sums up pretty much what we've been up to this season. Yeah, it's just another way of choosing how you buy beer, isn't it?
Yeah, it's another facet, isn't it, of the whole thing. I mean, we early on in the season we did the 10 Commandments of Untappd, which I hope everyone is still adhering to, as they are written in stone.
I'm still on #NoSips.
#NoSips.
Yeah.
The difference between a sip and a taster is a fine line.
It is a fine line, but as far as I'm concerned, anything at the Essex Bottle Share is a taster.
And there is a measurement on Untappd for it.
Yep, and it's a sip when you take somebody else's drink and you have a little sip from it, and that's a sip.
That is a sip.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'd agree with that. I'd agree with that.
So,
that doesn't count.
Well, hopefully people have enjoyed the particular theme that we've been running through this season. Anyway, about choices. So, anything else to say on opinions this week?
No, I think the comments were good. I think there was quite what I did enjoy last night was that people had a very definite feel about it. They weren't hanging around to provide their comments.
Yeah, there was no grey, was there?
No,
it was black or white,
and it was quick.
Yeah,
people were in there or they weren't.
Yeah,
and then it was like, okay, we're done now. And that's unlike a lot of the conversations.
So sometimes it sparks, doesn't it?
Yeah.
People end up having a conversation. Yeah.
And Untappd is definitely, is definitely a Marmite app. The whole ticking thing is definitely not something that everyone loves.
Absolutely, and people did try and start moaning about Untappd towards the end of the evening, and I was like, "No, you had your opportunity.
That's been done.
We did that a few weeks back. Don't be starting that now.
Don't start that one again."
Yeah. I'm
just looking at both our glasses. It's looking almost quite empty.
It's been evaporated. I think.
Sorry, I'll turn down the heating.
We've not even been talking that much for us to be needing this much lubrication.
Now, the reason why I brought this one back from Bruges is because when I was in one of the little pubs, and it's the one I can never pronounce, the little one where the landlady recently left after 30 odd years. She got her presentation from the British Guild of Beer Writers. I was in there just after New Year with Michelle, and I'd had my heart set on that day. It was a bit cold. I'm just going to have big dark beers. And there wasn't actually that many on the menu. Massive menu, but not that many big ones. And I found a quad which was mixed with espresso. And I think this was the 2nd of January, and I said, "Oh, it's my beer of the year."
Just brave.
That's
a brave statement.
Or I think I might have said my best beer of the year so far.
Yeah.
And I thought, well, okay. And I wonder if I can get hold of the actual quad. So the next day when I was in the shops, I was looking out for the quad, which I found, which we just had. So that was our starting point. So I'm gonna crack open the next one. Okay.
Now I have to say that I've got. I know there's this long-standing joke about me and Belgian beers and things being Belgian.
That wasn't very Belgian.
I didn't find it Belgian at all.
I thought it was really rounded.
But I've discovered in the last year that I love quads, and
you really like the quad series from Buxton, didn't you?
I did, and I recently discovered that I've got 2 in my cupboard.
Oh, really?
Which one is apparently because I've had a lot of fun in the past week as well. I've put all of my beers from my cellar onto different lists on Untappd.
That's part of the new innovation.
That's a new feature. So while going through all of my beers, I found that I had 2 bottles of it. I thought I only had 1 bottle, and I've got 2 bottles, and they're both on a different shelf, so they now appear on different lists. So one of them is.
You base your lists on the shelves?
I have. One of my lists is called A Bit Further Back, which is kind of beers that I'm holding on to, but I won't hold on to for a long time. And then one of my lists is called Deep in the Cellar, and I've got a bottle of the Buxton Quad on each shelf, which I was really happy about to find that. But I don't know what it is. I think it's because I suppose for me maybe it's because they're the closest to an impy stout that you're going to get from Belgium without it being a stout.
Yeah, and also I find a lot of the time with the quads, because you've got that bigger body and they're that bit darker, you do lose a bit of that Belgian funk, that yeasty note that you often get, which I don't mind, but can be a love or hate for some people with Belgian beers. I think that really does mellow away in the quads. It does mean you have to drink 9, 10, 11% beers.
Not a problem.
Not a problem. Well, speaking of which,
not a problem. So what have we got this time? This is the
Prearis Quadrocinno, which is coffee infused, and it's again it's stuck at the 10% as well.
Do you know what? It smells like one of those coffees that Roland made for us.
Yeah.
The one that was like was it a natural coffee that he said the one? Yeah. Oh, I'm looking forward to this, mate. Cheers. Thanks for bringing these back for us to try on the show.
How nice is that?
Oh, that is so good.
See, I know what I was expecting, so I've had it before.
That is really good.
Yeah.
I mean, you get the quad, and you get the coffee.
But that sweetness is loads that have come out again now, isn't it?
Yeah, but the balance of the two is absolutely perfect. Neither of them overpowers.
No.
So the sweetness isn't there, the coffee isn't there. They just balance together.
And again,
really, really.
How
well.
drinkable is it?
It's, honestly, this dangerously so.
It is dangerously drinkable, but it's bloody delicious. I said I sat there fully with the intention of savouring it when I was in the pub. Didn't savour it for very long, I have to admit.
I would like a big glass of that to sit and drink over an afternoon.
Like I said, it was
in front of a roaring fire.
It was the coldest day we were there, the 3 days, and it is the dampest day as well. So we sort of got in. We were aiming to get to that place for 4 o'clock.
Yeah.
I think we got there at 4:05, and even by then, half the tables had already been taken up because it's such a destination place for people. So we'd already walked past it, scoped where it was, spotted two. I'm going to say it. There were 2 beardy guys with rucksacks on, and I thought, okay, well, we're definitely in the right place. It's just like they weren't open yet. I didn't fancy standing in the rain. So, but they obviously did because they did get a prime spot when I noticed when I got in there. But there was still a table when we got in there anyway. Mm-hmm. Very simple food menu. Michelle had a couple of cheese and ham sandwiches, toasted sandwiches. Just nice.
Sometimes that's all you need.
Sometimes, yeah. I mean,
you don't want something that's going to overpower.
No,
the beer,
not at all.
You just want something that's just going to begin to soak up.
The only thing I would have ordered if I'd been of a mind at the time would have been a plate of cheese. A couple of really nice cheeses with that. Be perfect. Now you're saying where's the cheese, aren't you?
Where's the cheese? Honestly, preparation, mate.
The service is terrible.
Terrible, yeah. Wow. So we're going to carry on enjoying that.
Yeah.
And while we drink that, we're going to move on to this week's letters.
Let us know, write it down. Let us know, write it down. Let us know your thoughts and bitter and lingerness. Write it down.
So this is the segment of the show where if you use the hashtag Hopinions randomly during the course of the week, we're going to pick it up and claim it as a letter.
Yep.
So first up this week from Roland Has Been New Boy again, who simply says, enjoying the Hopinions Irish Beer Snob, Mrs. Beer Snob crossover festivals podcast while I was waiting for a visiting honorary Irishman. So nice to get some feedback about that show.
Yeah, Roland, catch up.
He's only 2 weeks behind, 3 weeks behind.
Yeah, 3 weeks behind there.
Yeah.
Come on.
I'm sure he'll catch up. Unlike the podcasts Roland's involved in, that are short, sharp, they're 7 or 8 minutes. Occasionally they go up to 12, 15, 17 if Gary's involved.
Yeah, I was going to say, if Steve's not there,
yeah,
they go into double figures.
Yeah, you can catch up on a few of those in an hour.
Yeah.
Us, not
less
so much. Yeah, not so much. And then we had some more love for Beer Fairy again.
Yeah.
So Matt Chinnery at Half Pint Gent just finished the latest Opinions podcast. More Beer Fairy for future podcasts, please. All up to date now, I think. So unlike Roland, Matt is almost up to date.
Matt has almost caught up.
Yeah.
I think he wasn't the only person to express that as well about Beer Fairy. Ruth's contribution to the show was very well received.
I think she's been very well received.
Yeah.
So I'd like to express thanks to Ruth at this point, because obviously she's brought probably a level of knowledge that maybe we didn't have to the show.
A knowledgeable guest always outweighs the unknowledgeable hosts. Absolutely.
It was either that or gin that did it.
I reckon she'll have to bring a gin again.
I reckon so. So it would seem as though our listeners want more Ruth in the future. So we'll see what we can do there. Then next up we had Hop Addiction at Hop Addiction. Hashtag Hop Action too many hops in this.
And who would have thought you'd say that?
I know. What's your weekly spend on craft beer like, and what drives your spending habits? And then there was a poll that followed, and he used the hashtag opinions. Now, I don't mind a little bit of imitation, because they say that it's the greatest form of flattery, isn't it? So I'm happy for people to copy what we're doing out there, as long as they're hashtagging us into it, so
exactly.
we can talk about it on our show,
which
as well.
Which he qualified.
Yeah, absolutely. And then this is another one that I always struggle with. Do you want to take this one?
I'll try it. Drunk, who is John at Drink Drank Blog, retweeted Little Earth Project Cameron not embracing sour beer. They really need to branch out more. They're missing out some amazing stuff. Sad. Hashtag opinions. And I think one of our Essex bottle share.
I was going to say, now, did you see this last week? What prompted this?
Yes. Now, it was from one of the Suffolk Beer Festivals.
No, it was the East Anglia.
Which is in Suffolk.
Oh, is it in Suffolk?
It's held in Newmarket.
Okay, I just thought it was a general regional thing.
They call it the East Anglian one, but it's held in Newmarket.
Okay,
yeah, I'm sure. No, my Berry.
Yeah.
I've been to it once. I went to it St George's Day a couple of years ago. And basically, the post was... So for those people who don't know about Little Earth, they're very much... It's a sour beer. Sour beers tend to be their core, as well as doing other experimental beers. Are they organic as well, I think?
I think so, yeah.
So there's a lot, and hence their Little Earth name as well. And I think they reached out to the East Anglian Beer Festival and suggested one or two of their beers for the festival, which I thought was quite a good suggestion. Mm-hmm. It'd be very different to some of the offerings they often have. And in a nutshell, the message which came back for them, while very polite, was basically that they felt that the average camera festival goer would think the beer was off, and it would take too much explaining to educate them at a beer festival. So they turned it down. That was the crux of it, if I remember correctly.
It was the crux of it, and I'm pondering whether we need to go into this now or whether we need to save this for another show, because I'm just wondering if I can see both sides of it. I can see as a consumer what the consumers are saying is that Camera needs to get more adventurous and embrace more styles and bring more beers into their festivals. But at the same time, I can see the festival organiser saying, I'm sorry, but we know what our punters like, and it's just too much of a risk to put this beer on.
Yeah, but they have started having, they sell cider. Now, there are plenty of times when some sour beers start to become a bit ciderish, and we embrace cider at Camera beer festivals. The unfined hazy beers have started to make their way, and they just have the sign on there saying, this may be hazy. They've started to put that on the front of the cask as well. I mean, perhaps maybe a better arrangement would have been, some sort of rather than Camera buying the cask of beer outright, it's like, let's see how it goes, and then we'll sort it out.
Yeah.
I'm with you. I can understand sort of where they were coming from, but it seemed a bit of a missed opportunity. Maybe they got like a polypin rather than a full cask. If that had been possible, I don't know what.
Or maybe some bottles to sell.
Yeah, I don't know what Little Earth do bottles.
Festivals do bottle bottles as well.
Yeah, they're usually the Belgian ones, aren't they? But I suppose that would have sat quite well.
Would have sat quite well in there
with the Belgian beers. So yeah, but that was an interesting one though.
It was interesting that it came up on, because we have a kind of Essex bottle share group. It came up on there, and then a couple of hours later, John obviously picked up on it and tagged us into it, so it's an interesting one to feature. And then just finally in this week's letters, Chris Griffiths at Griffith23 again, Hopinions wants to know, have the rules of entry for the Priceless Prize, and it's not priceless, it's Prizeless Prize. That's getting difficult to say after 10%
quads.
Have the rules of entry for the Prizeless Prize gone out of the window, and were there ever any?
I was unaware of any rules.
I think this is based on your decision of last week.
Probably influenced by your outburst when I was announcing the winner, the well-deserved winner, in my opinion.
I still don't know that if when we started the Prizeless Prize, and it was down to me, I was always very against any photo enhancements.
So what about the ones with the can sitting in the air supposedly
I've never
No.
chosen one of those as a winner.
But
I don't like them.
I think we have had photo enhancements when that whole wave about a year ago.
I think there was maybe one, and then everybody was doing it.
Yeah.
It was like, no.
Where it started to look like someone had drawn it, that kind of thing.
Come on.
How clever was it though?
It was clever, and it was brilliant that there was even a reflection in the mask.
In the visor.
But
it's not going to be that
it
every
wasn't a
time
picture of the beer that he was drinking, because
he might have been drinking that beer.
he might have been. I'm not going to have this discussion again. I think I made myself clear last week
But
on this one.
You ceded control at the start.
I did cede control. Let's see what you've come up with this week. Who's taken the big box of nothing this week?
This is a good segue into this one. I don't even know if they're a listener of the show, just so that people know I do go on the picture that grabs my attention. So
even if it's photoshopped.
Even if it's photoshopped, yes, because it was well done and very clever. I enjoyed that. So basically, this is a picture of a beer from Grimm, which is Lambeau d'Or, and it's taken on the bar at Little Leeds Beer House, looking out into the Corn Exchange. It's the Corn Exchange,
Lovely.
isn't it?
I can just picture it.
Yeah, so it looks really good. As far as I'm aware, there's no photoshopping going on. It must have been quite a quiet moment because there's no one in the background either. So this is from Northern Beer Geek. So I don't know if they've ever interacted with the show or not, but they will be getting a shout out, and they probably wonder, what the hell is this all about? And they probably want their
if
big
they've
box.
used the hashtag Cheers Guys, they must know what's going on.
Well, you'd be surprised how many people use the hashtag Cheers Guys these days without it being anything to do with beer sometimes.
I've seen, trust me. Yeah.
So, but I thought that one was really good, and also, I can picture the scene as you can as well, and it is a lovely little spot there.
Yeah.
So it worked well for me, that one.
At least we're back to actual beer in an actual glass in an actual place.
Yes.
Rather than a photoshopped image.
Yeah. But if there'd been a Photoshop one which had been really good, who knows? You'll never know, Steve.
I don't suppose I ever will.
You'll never know till I announce it.
If you want to have a go at winning what will be the final Prizeless Prize, big box of nothing of this season next week, just make sure you put your picture on Instagram and use the hashtag Cheers Guys. And if it's the one that grabs Martin's attention, no Photoshop, will be the one that will take the prize home.
That's the Martin's attention bit. Was the important bit there, wasn't it?
It was, yes, absolutely. So one more show left this season, mate. What are we doing next week?
Well, we're drinking beer.
We are drinking beer. Have you forgotten what beers we're drinking?
Yeah.
Okay.
I told you what they were, but I can't remember.
Okay, so next week...
In fact, I chose them.
Next week we are going to be drinking 2 beers from the Beer Bod's Ones to Watch box. So we are going to be drinking Daya Steady Rolling Man.
Yep.
Hello. And we are going to be drinking Burning Soul Oct IPA.
Yes.
And in addition to those, because clearly we can't ever drink
two beers
on this show anymore, we're also going to be drinking a beer that we have gone on about again on a number of shows. That's been one of our standouts of this season. Which is the Adnams Both Barrels Barrel Aged Broadside.
Yeah, so that's definitely on the list as well. So 3 beers for next week. If you get a hold of any of them, feel free to join in.
And we are going to be chatting about geekery.
Yes.
And is it just wider than beer? And you are going to have to allow us some creative license, because we probably are going to go off in all directions next week that necessarily aren't just about beer.
But yeah, basically, if you're a geek about beer, are you geek about other things as well?
Yeah, and that's what we're going to be looking at.
Yeah.
So, final thoughts on this beer before we finish up?
Again, almost finished.
It has perfectly timed as well, yeah.
Absolutely delicious. But like I said, I knew what I was expecting, and it hasn't disappointed the second time.
I love that. Sometimes you get a beer that's got coffee in it and the coffee's just too much.
This isn't.
Or it's not enough. That's just perfect.
Yeah.
In terms of its balance, I've really enjoyed that. It's been a nice few beers this evening, mate.
Yeah, not too bad at all.
Right, well, cheers.
Cheers, Steve.